Hello and welcome. You're watching Coronavirus Facts versus Myths. I'm Gargi Rao. This is the show where we focus on the latest developments in the pandemic, vaccines and the latest treatments. Up ahead, you can also call in and ask questions to our doctors. Today, we're going to be focusing on mucormycosis, or the black fungal infection that is being found in COVID patients. So we will be coming to that later on in the show. But first, let's get to the latest numbers. Now, India saw another grim record with 4,329 COVID patients dying in the last 24 hours. This is the highest daily deaths, even crossing Brazil. This even as daily cases dropped to 2.63 lakh, and this is the second consecutive day that the country has reported less than 3 lakh cases. Now, India has reported more daily deaths in the world. The highest so far was in Brazil on the 8th of April when they recorded 4,249 deaths. But India crossing that number now with 4,329 deaths. If we talk about vaccinations, our falling vaccine rates remain a big worry. While we have given 18.4 crore vaccine doses so far, but the daily rates are too low. On the 16th, we vaccinated just 7 lakh people. On the 17th, only 15 lakh. Now, remember, experts have said that daily vaccines need to be much higher, over 50 lakh, so that we can vaccinate a sizable proportion of the population in the shortest period. So take a look at those vaccine rates falling below 20 lakh there. Now, a big focus on the show, we're going to take a look at the new variant and its impact in the UK, the highly transmissible B1617 variant of COVID that was first found in India has now been found in 86 districts across the UK. Health Secretary Matt Hancock has urged the public to stay cautious, he said, and authorities have identified 2,323 cases of the variant as of Monday, with cases doubling in the past week in Bolton and Blackburn in northwestern England. As the UK opens up from the lockdown, the decision to soon end social distancing rules has now been shelved over worries over this new variant. Now, the good news is that the UK has increasing confidence that COVID vaccines will work against the new variant. Scientists believe that the variant is more transmissible, but Health Secretary Matt Hancock also said that early lab data has shown that vaccines remain effective. Well, to talk more about this, we're joined by Dr. Nipin Bagla, consultant cellular pathologist with the NHS. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Bagla. First and foremost, we keep getting different, opinions, or rather research on the vaccine and their effectiveness against the new variant. The latest, though, does sound promising.
Yes, so as the health secretary was just saying, you just showed that clip. So what it does show is definitely more transmissible, because it has become the dominant variant in those areas, in Bolton, for example. But the good news is, I mean, it's more anecdotal, but it gives you a hint that most of the patients who have been admitted in Bolton because of the COVID-related illness, they are the ones who did not have the vaccine. So it just means that the people who had the vaccine were kind of protected against this variant, and there was less penetration in those people. And the health secretary also said that the lab data in Oxford University is also pointing towards that this vaccine is effective against the new variant. But these are all early days and early data. So we will wait to see that how it evolves. And that's the reason why the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, is taking a conservative approach to the plans of opening up everything in June. So it's
right,
a wait and watch
absolutely.
policy
I'm sure
now.
we're going to hear a lot more, concerning on the issue of the efficacy of the vaccine, and that's something very concerning for India as well, given that this is the dominant strain in most parts of the country, the B1617 strain, and you said more studies are taking place. But as UK is opening up, like you pointed out, the Prime Minister is still very concerned, and there are concerns over this new strain and how widely it is spreading and how quickly it is spreading. And we also heard that the rules on social distancing are not going to be changed just now because of these fears.
The rules on social distancing have changed as of Monday, as of yesterday. So now we are allowed to socialize indoors with certain restrictions, and we are also allowed to dine inside the pubs with certain restrictions. What they are referring to is opening up everything in June, basically just as if it doesn't exist. That's the bit that will be under watch and wait. And as for data, what they have started doing now in Bolton is they've really bolstered the vaccination capacity, vaccination drive, as you might say. And the reason for that is that there was a bit of vaccine hesitancy in that area in the past. Now people are coming forward to take vaccines. So the good thing with that would be, A, they will try to contain it there, and B, you will have that data in a few weeks that when there's a massive vaccine drive in Bolton and surrounding areas where this variant is spreading, how the vaccine is able to contain that or at least mitigate its effects. So I'm hoping that in a few weeks you will have a very good, robust data, which will be useful even for India, because you are also having a very big vaccine drive there. So it will inform you how it is going to contain the current wave going forward, say a month from now, and also to prevent the third wave.
Right, and the concerns over this particular variant becoming the dominant variant have also led to changes in the vaccination dosage, in the sense the time gap between the first and second dose has been decreased. And this is interesting because here in India, because of our shortage of vaccines, we actually increased the duration between doses of Covishield, that's the AstraZeneca vaccine. But there, because they want to get ahead of this new variant, they've actually decreased the time so more and more people can get fully vaccinated.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the most important thing, that you get people vaccinated as quickly as possible. Whether it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it's all academic discussion. So, the benefit would be a few percentage here and there, and that doesn't make a huge difference. What makes a huge difference is people getting both doses in their arms. And it's interesting because I've been seeing that on the media, people say 93% efficacy, 97%. I think what is more important for people to understand is that if you've had 2 doses of vaccine compared to an unvaccinated person, you reduce your chance of having infection and also severe illness. You cut it down by 1/4 compared to an unvaccinated person, which is a huge thing. And that's what you need to understand. And as soon as you do that, more and more people get the vaccine in their arms, it will reduce the transmissibility and then also reduce the chance of you getting severely ill or die from it by almost to 1/4 of somebody who has not been vaccinated.
So it's interesting, how frank and, attempts at being transparent there in the UK with the authorities talking about their fears regarding this new variant and also at the same time talking about the vaccinations. And are you hoping that in coming days, more and more people will come ahead and get vaccinated, given the kind of data that's being presented to them?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So the only problem areas here were, I hate to say that, but more Asian or Indian subcontinent areas, and there was a bit of vaccine hesitancy and there was lower uptake compared to rest of the areas. But because of what's happening in India and now what has happened in Bolton, I think that is all quickly changing now. And I think I might be wrong, but I think it's more than 80% the vaccine take up in most areas, or maybe touching even 90% in many areas.
A better organization and awareness will lead to, pick up in the vaccination drive there. Thank you so much, Dr. Bagla, for speaking to us here at NDTV.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now, the other big issue we're focusing on is mucormycosis. In recent days, there has been an increase in the detection of a rare but deadly fungal infection known as mucormycosis, or colloquially as we refer to it as black fungus, in COVID patients. Now, it appears in the skin, also affects the lungs and the brain, and cases of the infection have been reported from Maharashtra, Delhi, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, more recently in Goa as well. In severe cases, the cost to many of the COVID patients has been that their vision, jawbones and nose have been affected by this infection. To talk more about this, we're joined by Dr. Ajay Swaroop, Chairman, ENT Department, Sir Gangaram Hospital, and Dr. Sumit Mirig, Principal Consultant and Head ENT, Max Hospital, Sake. Thank you so much, doctors, for joining us on the show today. Dr. Swaroop, first and foremost for viewers, I know many of them have heard about this black fungal infection that's emerging, mucormycosis in COVID patients, but just again, if you could explain to us, what is this exactly?
Well, it's a very serious fungal infection which is known for hundreds of years. It's not that this is a new thing which has come up. Only thing is that its incidence was very, very low, and it was seen in certain patients who were severely immunocompromised, had cancer or had HIV or certain conditions in which the immunity was very low. And we have seen we have been seeing cases of mucormycosis. It has always been a very, very serious and a deadly disease, and it has led to a lot of morbidity as well as mortality. Unfortunately, because of COVID, and especially in this wave, though of course we had reported in the first wave also, the incidence has shot up. I mean, it is totally unprecedented.
I remember reporting this during the first wave as well, but this time the cases, are so widespread from so many states. They're emerging. Dr. Mrigh, what many people want to know is there any relation to COVID? Is this coming, is it connected to the disease, or if you could explain to us how it's more connected to the kind of treatment that people are receiving?
See, like Dr. Swaroop said, mucormycosis is nothing new. We have been seeing it. But in the second wave of COVID, what we have seen a very steady increase in the number of cases. And COVID by itself has made the immunity of the patient very weak. And in this way, because of the severity of disease, many patients have taken huge doses of steroids. Many of them have taken it at home, which have been unsupervised. Now, many of these patients were pre-diabetic, which they were not even aware. Now, the sugar levels in these patients who I'm seeing in the OPD has been very alarming rise to a range of about 300, 400. Now, mucormycosis is something which actually proliferates into the nose and the paranasal sinuses. And if you have a high blood sugar level in your body, it helps in spread of the disease very fast to the orbit and to the brain. Now, why we did not see as many cases, probably maybe because of two factors. One was maybe the virus strain which has hit and caused of the second wave is very virulent, number one. Number two, it suddenly involved such a huge number of population that there was, most of them were not able to reach hospital, were not able to get beds, so they had no option but to start treatment at home. And I think there was a lot of panic for the use of steroids. People think that it was a life-saving procedure, and there was an unscrupulous use of a lot of steroids, which has led to this sudden proliferation in the fungal infections in this wave.
Right. Dr. Swaroop, now we've had certain reactions to this. I do know in Maharashtra, they've issued guidelines, how to recognize cases of mucormycosis, which is very important that you recognize it early on. You have the DC of Faridabad actually, tweeting out saying that no chemist will sell steroids of any kind without proper prescription to avoid black fungus disease. No sale of steroids without prescription. So these are the kind of reactions to this fear of this infection being seen in more and more cases. Tell us, how do you identify it early and what is there to watch out for?
Well, now you have to divide them into two groups. One is that COVID positive patients who are admitted in the hospital, right? They are sick patients, and in the hospital, we have to be highly suspicious. They have to be labeled as high-risk patients, and these high-risk patients are patients who are having uncontrolled diabetes, patients who are having diabetic ketoacidosis, patients who are on high dosage of steroids to save their lives. They are high risk. They are a high risk group. And this is the group in which we have to be very careful for even the first and earliest sign, which may be as simple as just a small swelling in and around the eye or around the nose, or there may be a dark discharge from the nose. There may be an unexplained severe headache, which in a sick patient, admitted patient, may be overlooked. But now, since we know that disease is spreading in such a alarming way, we have to be very careful. And that is why already guidelines in Gangaram, and I'm sure in all hospitals which are treating COVID, have been issued that a special precautions have to be taken about the judicious use of steroids, about early detection of first signs of mucor, investigation, examination by a qualified ENT specialist and an eye specialist to see the most initial signs and symptoms. This is in COVID cases which are in the hospital. Now there are patients who have been discharged. They are post-COVID cases and they are at home. Now these are the patients who are actually panicking with all this increased incidence. These are the ones who are coming to us in hordes with, I have sneezed twice, I have had a small nasal discharge. that is a panic reaction. But definitely a blood sugar checking, regular checkup, even after getting discharged and becoming all right from COVID, is a must to see that your sugar is not going haywire, it's not fluctuating. Secondly, any unexplained symptom like a severe headache, like a nasal discharge, like a swelling in and around the cheek, eyes, loosening of teeth, any black spots inside the throat, in the palate.
Right.
These are absolute warning signs, and you must rush to a proper physician, ENT specialist, ophthalmologist, as the case may be.
Right, it's very important to catch it early. The costs are also very high of treating this infection. Dr. Mrig, also, why is it happening here in India more? Do you hear about cases like this in other countries as well?
See, India is a country where we have very dry and dusty conditions. Now, these mucormycosis spore they are present in the air, and they generally tend to spread in dry and dusty weather. Also, there is a propensity of this disease to spread in the coastal areas because we have a tropical climate. Now, because of this COVID second wave, the immunity of the patients have suddenly dropped down. Many of them have taken a lot of steroids. Many of them have very high level of sugars, and this is the reason why the immunity of the patient goes down. And this is the time when these spores, they enter our body through our nose, and they may enter through the respiratory tract. Now, otherwise, a fit person with a good immunity is able to fight with this disease. But if your immunity is compromised, then this disease spreads very fast. Like Dr. Sarup said, these patients may develop with some signs and symptoms. And the best is to identify these patients very early and call them for a nasal endoscopy.
All right. Well, that is, what we know about mucormycosis and the steps that you need to take. And as the doctors are saying, you have to catch it early. That is the main thing that, you have to watch the patients, especially if they're home isolation, to catch any sort of infection early. We'll slip into a short break. We'll be back and the doctors will answer any questions, any doubts that you may have regarding this issue. So do call in on this number on your screens. Time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for our viewer question segment, and we have with us Dr. Ajay Swaroop, ENT department at Gangaram Hospital. One of the questions that a viewer wrote into us, Dr. Sangam Ghosh wrote, what precautions to take to minimize the risk of getting infected with mucormycosis, and alternative medicines of liposomal amphotericin B injection? I don't really like to talk about medicines on the show, but he had a question about alternatives.
Well, it all depends on how, firstly, to prevent. Now, the major thing is you have to keep your blood sugar absolutely under control. For that, your treating physician has to be very careful. You have to be careful. Blood sugar is one thing which has to be meticulously controlled. And if your blood sugar is being well controlled, if you are off steroid, and if you are reasonably healthy, you are having a healthy diet, then there is no need to panic. That is what I want to convey, that there is no need. It is a bad disease. It has spread a lot, but we know the causes. We know the type of people who are going to be affected. Everybody, a 20-year-old healthy person who has recovered from COVID, has never had a history of diabetes. His blood sugar is absolutely all right. He's eating, he's resting. He doesn't have to bother if he gets one sneeze or a little bit of cold.
After and just a small point, doctor, this is not an infectious, disease or something, is it?
No. It is not going to be transmitted.
Just because people have that sort of fear about it, so I just wanted to clarify that.
No, absolutely not. It is not going to be transmitted like COVID. It is not going to be transmitted like COVID. It is a specific set of people, unfortunately, who are going to get this. So, careful, yes, one has to be careful because it's a COVID is a new disease, so we don't know what actually the COVID virus is causing that the incidence has increased. That is one point which I am sure the scientists are going to examine, study in detail, that does the COVID virus itself has something which is producing this. That is a point.
That would be interesting to know. We have a caller, doctor, from Pune, Keshav. Go ahead with your question, Keshav. Right, Keshav, do go ahead with your question. All right, we will try and reconnect with him. We have another question that was written in to us by Shrikant Patil asking, who are the people more prone to this disease? Any precautions that one needs to take post-COVID treatment to avoid it? I think you kind of covered that, but just very quickly, doctor.
Yeah, patients who are inherently diabetic, initially diabetic, who had steroids, who had a stormy period, whose immunity is down, they are the ones who have to be extra careful. And by being extra careful, what I mean is a meticulous control of diabetes. Please, I'm again and again repeating, a meticulous control of diabetes, which will be monitored by your physician. You can do the finger prick test, and your physician will suitably alter the medicine. If your diabetes is under control, then your chances of getting mucormycosis become very, very low.
All right, doctor, we have Keshav back on the line with us. Go ahead with your question, Keshav.
Yeah, hi sir. How are you doing?
Right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually my question is the mucormycosis will be affected for normal persons like without COVID infections and all? Is it can be deadly or something like that?
Doctor?
Yes, as I have already said at the start of the program, this is a disease which is already known, but it is a disease which only affects severely immunocompromised patients. Any patient who is healthy, even though he may be a diabetic, you see, India is now becoming a diabetic country.
That's right.
So even you may be a diabetic, you've not had COVID, there is absolutely minimal chance of your catching mucormycosis. But if unfortunately somebody is a transplant patient who's on long-term steroids, who's on long-term immunosuppressives, he is a diabetic, they are the ones who can have mucormycosis and used to have mucormycosis, but the incidence was so small and negligible that it was
Doctor, we have another caller from Goa. Amit, go ahead with your question.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. I was told by some Ayurvedic doctors that by using gomutra as well as cow dung, by applying cow dung in the body, it can remove the black fungus. Is it true?
I don't know if you even want to answer that, doctor. Go ahead.
Well, you see, the point is that I am a scientific person, so I don't want to outrightly reject anything. But as far as I am concerned, it has absolutely no role, or as far as I can think, I can't sort of say yes to this.
All right, well, we'll end it there. Thank you so much, Dr. Swaroop, for speaking to us and sparing your time in these very difficult times. I know for all of you doctors, thank you so much for answering all those questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A pleasure.